A botched drug deal left Tommy Vercetti in Vice City with nothing to his name but a past and ambition. But it was that setback that pushed him to start building the foundations of one of the city's most powerful crime syndicates. What's going on, everybody? You're not officially kicking it with RJ. I want you guys to kick up your feet, kick off your shoes, get something to eat, get something to drink. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Vercetti Gang, what happened to them, how they started, and everything. And before we really get into it, I want you guys to smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and anyways, let's get right into it. Tommy Vercetti arrives in Vice City, sent by the Ferrelli family to oversee a cocaine deal. But the deal is ambushed, leaving Tommy with no drugs, no money, and no backup. This forces him to stay in Vice City and figure out how he's going to get the money back for Sonny. With help from Ken Rosenberg, his anxious but useful lawyer, Tommy makes his first introductions in the city. He begins working for various players, Juan Cortez and Avery Carrington, which gives him street credibility and contacts. At this stage, Tommy doesn't have a gang yet, but he's operating as a freelancer, building a reputation for being reliable and ruthless. With meeting these key players, Tommy starts to build alliances with them. Avery Carrington shows Tommy how to acquire property and use real estate as a weapon. And then there's Kent Paul, who has nightlife connections which give Tommy an in with minor street level players. And then there's Cortez, who trusts Tommy enough to use him in high stakes operations, introducing him to more influential figures. Through Colonel Cortez, Tommy comes to work for Ricardo Diaz, a wealthy and paranoid drug baron, who brings Tommy into his service after he saves him from an ambush. Through jobs for Diaz, Tommy gains more insight into Vice City's cocaine trade. Diaz comes to trust Tommy, unaware that he is already observing his weaknesses and planning for the long term. By the time Tommy is firmly in Diaz's orbit, he is quietly assembling the future foundation for his own organization when the time is right. When Tommy and Lance uncover that Diaz was most likely behind the ambush drug deal, they start to plot and taking over Diaz's business when the time is right. And by now, Tommy already has Rosenberg as his fixer/lawyer, Lance as his partner, even though he's a little unpredictable, the backing of Colonel Cortez with his high-figure connections, and connections to real estate thanks to Avery's influence. Lance jumps on the plan to kill Diaz on his own, getting him kidnapped and nearly killed. Due to this, Tommy has to save Lance and the plan is pushed further ahead, where Tommy and Lance then storm Diaz's mansion, assassinating him. This moment starts the birth of the Vercetti Gang. Tommy is no longer a freelancer or middleman, but the boss of Vice City's newest crime syndicate. The gang's true start is gradual. At first, Tommy is alone. He doesn't have many connections in Vice City, but over time, he meets people like Avery Carrington and Colonel Cortez, where he builds reputation and more contacts. And then he starts working for Diaz, and then takes him out, where he takes control and inherits Diaz's empire. After Diaz is killed, Tommy instantly inherits his estate and wealth. Holding the Diaz estate makes Tommy look untouchable, instantly giving him the aura of Vice City's new kingpin. Ken Rosenberg, Avery Carrington, and Lance Vance are brought in, due to them being Tommy's key allies. Ken provided legal cover, financial laundering, and kept the legitimate front of the empire intact. Avery gave Tommy political influence and property deals, helping him play himself in the Vice City's real estate scene and rackets. And Lance Vance, while he briefly was there, he most likely took care of the enforcement and likely recruitment of the gang. Now, the recruitment of the gang wasn't really shown at all, while I'm guessing Tommy likely recruited members in Diaz's gang, much like in Scarface and Tony recruited Ernie after killing Frank.
What about Ernie?
You want a job, Ernie?
Sure, Tony.
Okay, then you call me tomorrow.
Hey, man, you got a job, huh?
Hey, Tony. Thanks.
And due to Diaz being very erratic and unstable, his former men might have looked at Tommy as someone who was strong-minded and less erratic. Now, Tommy likely pulled manpower from Vice City itself, like independent smugglers and hustlers, like freelancers at Viceport and around Little Haiti and Little Havana, who lost steady work after Diaz's fall. And then there was the biker mercenaries where Tommy hired them for protection and muscle, but not made into full Vercetti members. And then there's nightclub and business security, where owning the Malibu, Pole Position Club, and other businesses gave Tommy access to ready-made muscle in the form of doormen and guards. And then there's a Cuban gang. Since Tommy was pretty tight with Umberto Rubina, he likely took some of his guys as in like a sort of alliance between the gangs. And then Lance likely recruited some of his former men for his previous operation with Victor back in 1984. Now, Tommy took over a lot of what Diaz had, like protection. Tommy makes his name known by smashing up shops, taking care of other gangs stepping in, and blowing up a shop to make himself known that he is the new boss in town. And then there's a cocaine trade. This became the centerpiece of his empire, with the Boatyard bringing it in, the Kaufman Cats milling at the fronts, and various businesses like the Cherry Popper distributing it. And then there's a property empire. With Avery's help, Tommy bought up clubs, businesses, and front companies, anchoring his influence in ownership rather than alliances. And then there was a nightlife dominance. Through clubs and entertainment, Tommy embedded himself in Vice City's glitz scene, making his empire visible and profitable. Tommy's empire had a lot of structure. Rackets and assets like the Malibu Club, Cherry Pepper Ice Cream Factory, and even the Printworks became both cash cows and fronts. Profit cuts where dealers and soldiers kept a slice, but the mansion was the central hub where tribute always flowed upward. And then there was fear and reputation. Tommy's rise by killing Diaz and Sonny Forelli gave him unmatched credibility where few dared to cross him. And by the end of 1986, Tommy becomes the undisputed kingpin of Vice City after killing Sonny Forelli and betrayer Lance Vance. He then keeps Ken Rosenberg in the fold, despite his quirks and drug use, due to loyalty and shared history. Tommy's empire is built around fear, property, and muscle, a straight-up mafia-style control of Vice City. He maintains a soft spot for longtime allies, explaining why Lance's incompetence goes largely unnoticed until his outright betrayal. And Tommy killing Sonny sent the Frailes into disarray without Sonny, and with them dealing with turf problems with the Leone and Sindacos in Liberty City, the Frailes were most likely too busy to send a team to Vice City, and even if they did, Tommy would have most likely taken care of them without a problem, like he's done before. By the 1990s, Rosenberg's cocaine addiction becomes a liability, and Tommy is forced to cut him out of the empire. Rosenberg retreats to a rehab in Las Venturas, marking the end of the original inner circle. Tommy's empire then remained stable because he had already professionalized the gang and replaced unreliable elements with trusted soldiers and loyal operatives. Tommy has a weakness, his loyalty. He keeps allies longer than necessary due to personal loyalty or sentimentality. Lance's betrayal surprises him because he trusts him and started his organization with him, and Rosenberg's early drug use are tolerated until they threaten the business. This demonstrates Tommy's mix of pragmatism and personal attachment, a defining trait that shapes the empire's growth and stability. Other than that, Tommy keeps his cool, and the empire likely keeps on going. By the mid-1990s, the Vercetti Gang likely dominates Vice City still, in drug trafficking, nightlife, protection rackets, and property development. Tommy likely keeps a low public profile, focusing on wealth, assets, and control, rather than flashy notoriety. No outside mafia from Liberty City interferes. Tommy's independence keeps him very secure from outside sources. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, with the Forellis weakened and ultimately reduced to nothing in Liberty City, Tommy then continues his uncontested rule. Though he does lose Avery Carrington, with Avery in the middle of a project with the Colombian gang, thus making a possible connection with them and Tommy's empire, he operates Vice City with a balance of force, ownership, and strategic alliances. Tommy's reputation is then cemented, as feared, respected, and still alive and in control, years after his rise. And by 2002, Tommy still seems to be running things. Kent Paul's website mentions Tommy Vercetti by name, indicating that he remains ruler of Vice City's underworld. This shows that Tommy's empire endured over 15 years, one of the rare GTA organizations to survive long-term without a major collapse. And after this, Tommy likely kept the crown of the Vice City's underworld until either his death or retirement, but who knows, the land of GTA is unpredictable and something drastic could have happened also. But I like to think that Tommy kept the crown until he felt like it was time to step down and pass it on. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making this video. If you have any lore ideas you want me to cover, leave it in the comments below. I'll check them out, and yeah. Before we leave, I want you guys to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, helps your algorithm, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care now. Bye.